Following on from the last video where I've got these really nice card buildings put together from Zupa Graphica. The aim now is to try and make them look a bit more sci-fi, give them something a bit more than just what they are at the moment. So what I've been building are a bunch of these little chimneys or communications towers. Maybe going to be a satellite dish, some other things in amongst it. And the plan is to take these and then stick them onto the top of the car buildings in little arrays to give them what I think will be more of a 40k feel, or at least a sci-fi feel. The problem is that I want to be able to paint these plastic items. I don't want to be getting any paint on the card models. So what I'm planning to do is use a little bit of styrene sheet and cut out pieces that can then be glued onto the top of the card, and that gives me something that I can then glue these plastic items onto and make little assemblies that can be painted separately. The bits are just absolutely random, really. I've grabbed anything that I reckon can act as a tower or a chimney, and I've started gluing bits together. And then what it comes down to is finding nice little pieces that can add a bit of surface detail. And that's you, really. I mean, that's all there is to it. It's a simple process, but I think it's very effective. For example, here I've got something that I think maybe look like a windmill or wind turbine or something. Again, these unassociated parts can just be glued together, and none of it needs to mean anything or work at all. It's just about creating something that looks interesting. And you end up with these little unique assemblies, kind of based on things that you see in reality, but turned into something different. So if I take one of these as an example here, got my piece to go on top, so that'll get glued on there after painting. To give you the idea, if I grab a couple of these, what I'm thinking of doing is just grabbing random ones and then just gluing those on top with any other little bits around it to make it look interesting. And that would be the idea. Got some pipes and things, can always add on the side if needed. Little bits like this to me look like scale appropriate doorways. So if you want to kind of give something the look of having a little door to it, a bit like that can work a treat, I think. How much detail you put into your models is obviously up to you, but I think it's worth adding in a good amount. If it's the right sort of scale anyway, it does make a difference. You know, just in terms of having a little plain area there on the roof, just a random little flat piece like that with a bit of surface detail, and then Try and get it nice and square. And then some nice bits from the bits box. Surface fan detail. All adds to it. You know, that'll just give it something more than being a standard current era building. You know, we're giving it something else. And I think coupled with a bit of basing for each building, just to tie it into that red planet look that I go for, I think it should make it look okay. I think that's about the right amount of detail, a nice amount of height, and you kind of get the effect happening there with the building in the background against it. I think that looks more interesting, or at least it's got a kind of sci-fi tone to it. And once you've done a whole range of buildings like that, I think it would make for quite a nice cityscape view, even though it's just all these random spires and masts and things like that. So what I'll do now is go on and do the rest of these, or at least set them up, and see how it looks. I thought this one would be good to act as the building or the base for a large satellite dish. Something up on the top there would look quite good. So I've made a platform for it with a few bits. This is just unsupported card, so can't do anything too dramatic. And then to mount that satellite dish, or radar dish, whatever it would be, a few little bits together here that all happen to go quite well. And then a mixture of a little brass rod and some super glue. And then the end of some 40k weapon, not sure what it would be. And then there we go. Now, it's got lots of flexibility with this universal joint, but I'm probably going to have to just fix it in some position, or maybe make a little stand for it to hold it up. Yeah, that should work. Now this one with the kind of octagon design, I've got this bit that's been in the bits box for a while, and I've always thought of it as being really useful, could be used for all sorts of things, and the temptation is to never use them, because there may always be some better use, some better kit bash to save things for. My approach now is just to use the bits. If they fit and they look good, just get them used. You can see there it's pretty much a perfect fit, so it's got to get used, isn't it? And a good excuse just to use a bunch of random bits. Doesn't have to make any sense. All these sorts of things can just be explained away as being antennae and comms towers and radar. That should would be enough, I think. Now the last one is this more awkwardly shaped building with a curved top. Hard to stick anything onto that directly. Maybe trying to make use of some parts from an official kit, at least for the Titanicus game. Maybe make a kind of ground floor level with some of these more 40k looking pieces, just for a bit of a tie-in. I've never used these, so this will be the first time looking at them. Yeah, width-wise, they look like they will tally up, not too bad. So that's the kind of ground floor done. Oh, it's pretty substantial. Maybe quite handy having this because it's got that 40k look, kind of mix between mechanical and cathedral, and then that could just stick on there to combine that in a weird way, but it fits well, so go with it. So that's the kit bashing done, or at least the first stage completed now. Hopefully you can see the sort of thing that can be done with these quite simple card buildings, or the construction of them is quite simple. You get some nice effects, and the addition of the items on the top, I think it's just going to elevate them to being something a bit more sci-fi, a bit more fitting for the setting of 40k, with these large titans striding between them. So I think next would be to probably add some basing and then go about painting these new additions to get the buildings finished. And I do that probably in the next video, but so far I'm happy with the effect, and it's certainly worth putting together these little kit bash pieces. Hopefully the video has been of use to you, but in the meantime, thanks very much for watching.